Buckle up, it's the Insurance Dudes Podcast.
So when you came in, what size was it before you now are at double premium?
It's about 7 million DWP.
Okay, so now you're 14. That's a big book. How many staff do you have?
Oh, that's a funny story in this labor market.
I thought it was normal in Florida.
Oh, God. No. We've been blessed, and we've had people. We had a woman retire with us after 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Last year in May. I've got a gentleman with us now. He's one of our top personal line salespeople who's coming up on 15 years. He's just celebrated his 14th anniversary with the agency. But this labor market has gotten wonky, and as things, quote unquote, get back to normal, turn on the news. Actually, don't turn on the news, but go find some headlines to read, and the occurrence of people up and quitting is like unbelievable. It's crazy. So to answer your question, if you count myself, my wife, and our operations manager, who's not a family member, we have ebbed between 10 and 15 total staff over the last year. And it's FAIA convention that I referenced that we were at last week. You know, the reason I just tell this story, and if you want to get into some specifics, there are some great, crazy stories from some recent goings-ons, personnel-wise, and you know, I think I can keep it clean where it's not an HR problem.
Does it start with Florida man? Florida man.
Yeah, Florida man or Florida woman. She's out there too. But you know, I'm at this convention last week, and I'm talking to a good friend of mine from another part of the state, and she goes, "Yeah, my whole personal lines department got up and walked out 2 weeks ago." And that is what we're seeing. And thank God that didn't happen to us. 3/5 of it did. But there is an incredible shuffle going on right now. And I think people do have pandemic fatigue. I think there are enough published statistics that we can say unequivocally that there are way more jobs than applicants right now. And I'm a free market guy. Remember, I said Cheeto. I didn't say delirious. I said Cheeto. And supply and demand, right? So the supply is the way it lines up with the demand. The market's nuts. It's all of a sudden wages are as much as 30% higher. People are poaching like mad left and right. It's a weird world right now, but I think we've done away with virtual school. I mean, there's still some of the traditional, like you can take one class online or something, but the virtual option in Florida is dead and gone. So when kids go back to school in August, they will be at brick and mortar schools with 100%. There's no other option. And I think that'll change a lot of things too. Look, we closed our office down. So Florida, banking and finance was always considered essential. We did not have to close our office, but in the interest of managing hearts and minds, I mean, I think we would have had a mutiny if we didn't. And we only closed down for a couple of weeks. We were closed St. Patrick's Day to Memorial Day. And June 1st, my daughter's early childhood program reopened, and so did our office. Coincidence? Not at all. It was so we understand the childcare, how significant of a factor of a variable that is. So I think we'll see, you know, some things start to ease, and Florida goes back to school early. We're like that second or third week of August, so you don't even have to wait until September like most of the country. We'll see, but it's fun down here, man. It's fun everywhere. Right? I was just on the line with a consultant right before you guys that we partner with, who's based out of Rhode Island, but she travels the country, and her response was kind of like you and everybody else.
Yeah. I was going to say, what's getting you excited this year? So obviously you seem to like the shakeup. It can be dreary. I think you seem like you're a glass half full kind of guy, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, you got to be dynamic, right? That's my whole thing is this is the moment where an old timer digs their heels in and gets left in the dust. You just gotta stay on your toes, and it is what it is. And you know, I've got another at least 15 years to play this game, so I don't want to be in a cloud of dust.
There's always some sort of challenge, right? I mean, this is just a different one, and it's everybody's experience is the same different one. Where
for sure.
Money is printed unlimited, and we're, upside down. Everything is just not the way that it seems, but we'll get through it. Be stronger for it.
Amen.
What are you looking forward to? What are you bullish on in the within the next year or two? Where is your agency headed?
Sure. I think the answer to that, again, Florida is just a weird market. That question has had three different answers: 6 months ago, 12 months ago, and 18 months ago. Right now, it's growth, but it's focusing on our core partners. And the national carriers have started to re-expand their footprint in Florida. And the only way we can even do things for people, sell insurance right now in the personal lines realm. Commercial lines is another story. Commercial lines, that's going to be the growth area. We're going to add producers. We're going to have a shitload of fun, and we're going to make a ton of money, and we're going to help people. Personal lines, it's a different beast right now. We basically have maybe one or two, but there are like no carriers that will write a roof over 10 years old right now. We have carriers that will only write a roof if it's 5 years old or younger.
Wow.
Our property market on personal lines, it's crazy. So they're calling Central Florida, the core Central Florida counties, SOLO, SOLO, Seminole, Orange Lake, and Osceola, the new Miami. So all the insanity that's always been Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade, welcome to Orlando. Thanks, Miami. You brought all your damn baggage north. I appreciate the empanadas and the coladas, but come on, send the trash back down, and meaning the fraud, the dishonest contractors. There are like 8 law firms. And so in another hat I wear, I've been very, very involved with the Florida Association of Insurance Agents, came all the way up through the Young Agents Council, was the chair of YAC, sat on the board of FAIA, the big kids table, so to speak. So I'm very plugged into this stuff. So long story short, there are like 8 law firms that have created a cottage industry out of how to cheat insurance companies. We've had 3 or 4 insolvencies in the last 2 years, and we haven't had hurricanes or sinkholes. It's crazy. It's when you've got $15,000, $20,000 shingle roofs being replaced for $40,000 and $50,000 because the attorneys and the PAs have to get paid. Oh, and by the way, all the roofing companies now usually have a staff PA or a staff legal counsel.
Wow.
These are roofers. It's an industry. Well, there's plenty of honest ones too. And like I said, there are 8 law firms, and everybody knows who they are. And there are probably 8,000 law firms in the state, right? So this isn't, Shakespeare saying kill all the lawyers, even though I use that quote a lot. But it sucks. So anyway, let me actually answer your question. On the personal line side, I think it's really strengthening our relationships with our core partners and showing people the value of bundling, because we have that back in Florida. We've got some national brands that'll do home and auto, and that's where they'll get aggressive. Unfortunately, we've had to tell people recently if they're calling up for a homeowner's quote, they're like, I am just not giving you my auto information. I'm shopping my home. That's what I want to talk about. We basically have to tell them, like, I'm sorry, call somebody else. Like, there's very little we can do for you. By the way, the reason that your rate and this is like real numbers, the reason that your rate just went from $1,300 or $1,400 to like $3,500 is your 16-year-old shingle roof that may very well be in great shape, but it's not eligible with anybody. I do have a product or two where you could get actual cash value settlement for your roof. So you're just going to sue me when you have a claim, and I really don't want you to sue me. So can I have your auto information? It's not tie-in sales. It's literally, if you give me the auto, I've got like 3 or 4 markets that I can go to and get like 20 to 30% discounts. Otherwise, our property market is just screwed. So commercial is the future, and why that isn't scary, guys, it is forever and always, right? The IA channel has controlled 70 to 80% of the commercial lines market, and direct writers only 20 to 30. Direct writers have controlled 70 to 80% of the personal insurance market. IA has only controlled 20 to 30% of that. So that trend is nothing new, so it shouldn't really be anything scary, even though it's a little maddening. But again, you got to be nimble on your toes. And if I've got to, call my marketing guys and say, hey, some dollars that we're spending getting personal lines leads in, let's shift it over to commercial. And I need to head up to iDays in Tallahassee and find some good young talent. I'm all for it.
Yeah. What portion of your book is personal versus commercial?
So after having said everything I just said, so those of you that know the typical makeup of a nationwide agent from back in the day, a captive nationwide, or the same as like a State Farm agent today. I know a ton of them. I love them. They're great people, but derelict of duty. They're dangerous when it comes to commercial, and they're personal experts. So the average nationwide shop was very small in commercial, 10% or less. We were right at 10%. So January 1, 2008, we were about 90% personal, 10% commercial. Right now it stands at about 70% personal, 30% commercial. And our business plan wants to get it to 50-50.
Nice.
A lot of opportunity there.
Oh yeah.
Have you talked or met David Carruthers?
I have. I've sat through seminars of his at IAOA, the Insurance Agency Owners Alliance.
Awesome guy.
He's a boss.
IAOA is a hell of a group of people.
Yeah.
I think there are like 7,000 members now.
That's crazy.
We were sitting in a bar drinking whiskey in Ireland. And it was actually a trip with auto owners insurance. And we met this agent from Tucson, Arizona. And
hey, that's where I am.
Hi, cool.
Who?
You know John Foxworthy?
Yes, I do.
So John
I actually bought part of his book. John Foxworthy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
For the carrier who we can't name.
Bar in Ireland with Foxworthy drinking Redbreast. And he's like, you guys should check out this IAOA thing. And it was fledgling. I mean, I think they had just that first conference in like San Antonio or something. And it was like this new thing. And we're kind of like, all right, whatever, like Facebook, cool. And now we're like annual IAOA attendees and we love it. We always get some huge takeaways, and following Nick Ayer's personal Facebook account is now like my favorite sport.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. You have to like roller skates.
Yeah. Well, roller skates and banana hammocks once he moved to Arizona.
Yes.
It's a little disturbing at times.
That's his goal. So, speaking of Ayers, let's talk a little bit about marketing. So what do you do to grow your book? Because doubling up is a pretty significant achievement. Why don't you pass out some tidbits?
And I think right before you answer that, I think I want to state for anybody that has a smaller book, man, even at an amazing 90% retention or something like that, when you're at 10 million, that means that you're going to lose $1 million. So if you're growing in those bigger numbers, it gets very difficult to continue that growth. So it's a lot more impressive than just, he grew by $1 million. Yeah, no, well, he wrote like 2 million or 3 million to get to those numbers. So yeah.
So there's a lot of things we do, but there's one single core fundamental thing. And that's what I love to share with people. We can get into all the digital stuff we do and stuff we used to do that we've kind of reeled in, and how to create a presence as a hometown agent in sort of some outlying areas that have better underwriting guidelines than those core counties I mentioned, Seminole, Orange Lake, Osceola. And the digital era really enables that, because you can make yourself look like you're the hometown guy anywhere, and it doesn't really matter where you're sitting. That's not the fundamental. The fundamental goes back to when my folks, there's a whole nother story here. Keep it real quick. I won't even tell it. But when my folks came to Orlando from the Tampa Bay area, which is where my father's first agency was, he did a similar thing with a nationwide book of business that he walked away from in Tampa and was given about an equal value book here. Remember, you don't own your expirations, captive land. I'll spare you the rest of the details. This is the fundamental. Stop obsessing over, I've got to have this many leads and this many new clients. You need that activity, you need that volume, but the best lead you have are the people you've already sold to. And if you can go back and look, I know there are a bunch of hotshots going, I multi-line everything I sell. No, you don't. Get in your AMS if you have and do a reality check and look at your numbers. If you're anything above 60 or 65%, then you're truly a rock star. So if you're running between like 45 and 55, now you're probably average, at least what I see in my colleagues and even my own agency at certain periods. And then we relaunch these campaigns. But what you have to do is turn inwards, especially when you have a super hard market and just a super weird market like we have right now in Florida with property. And you have to focus on relationship building and multi-lining. And that's the secret. If you can multi-line, if you can bundle another 30% of the policies you've already got on the books or insureds you've already got on the books, your retention is going to skyrocket. That revenue pad is not going to be temporary. Like, a lot of people fall into the trap, and we're Florida, right? So there's over 1,000 people a day moving here. The housing market's out of control. So you get these agencies that are a homeowner's mill. But when there's a lull in the market or when rates go up, those people are screwed. But when you've got somebody who you've got their home, their auto, their motorcycle, their boat, their jet skis. They don't leave, or it takes a lot more for them to leave. So that account rounding, that cross sell is critical. And back in the day, my mother actually developed a program, and it had all these things like you need 3 touches, and if you make 3 phone calls and then you send a USPS postcard. I mean, this is the 90s, right? So there are some modifications to that now. You still need a certain number of touches. Brandon Smith up in Montana, speaking of IAOA, presented some awesome stats at the last IAOA in San Diego just before the world went batshit. I think it was late January 2020. And Harvard Business Review says you have to call somebody. It was insane. It was like 12 times before you actually get them on the phone on average or something. So anyway, you develop a campaign and you market to your existing book of business. And if you can ensure that book of business becomes healthily multi-lined, that's how you do it. Sure, you need green, organic, new revenue, new insureds into the book, but to answer the question straight up, how do you do something like those doubling efforts? You turn inwards and you sell more insurance to the people that already trust you and work with you.
Right. Well, if you have a 50% of the book is monoline, I mean, a huge opportunity, right?
Yep.
So you mentioned a little 3-step or 3 touches. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Give away some of the meaty details.
So it was really a simple program, and my mother was doing it, and believe it or not, this did not come from Nationwide. She brought it to Nationwide, and born was the care review. Their district manager took it to the state level, yada, yada, yada. True story, not some BS, look at what we did. But it was a simple program where they would run home no auto and auto no home lists and give it to each of the agents. And of course, everyone would have like 37 excuses why they're too busy. They have too much other stuff going on.
Right.
There's this great story. The woman I mentioned who was with us for 20 years, we're still in touch. She's practically family. And by the way, she makes the best arroz con gandules ever. If you ever need some Puerto Rican food, like I always told this woman, when you retire, if you want to open a restaurant or a food truck or something, I will invest.
What's her name? Let's give her a shout out.
Her name is Rosa Centeno.
Nice. Hey, Rosa.
Right. So Rosa is an insurance pro and she can cook.
Well, shoot her a link and she'll hear her mention on here.
Hey, I will do that. But long story short, there's this great story where she was having one of these days where like, I just can't get it done. And my mother sat down in a chair at her desk and went, well, I can't get anything else done until you get this done. So I'm not leaving this chair until you make your care calls.
Nice.
But that's the thing, and it's a constant struggle, even 25 years later when we run programs like this, because a lot of people they just don't want to do it, they don't want to prioritize it. But the original program was you made a series of 3 phone calls. So basically, day 1 is a phone call. You would pend it out, and day 2 might be like a business day, or between 1 and 3 business days later. That's phone call 2. Then again, 1 and 3 business days later, phone call 3. And if you're still unsuccessful on phone call 3, meaning you didn't reach the person, you would send a specially printed postcard in the mail, back when the mail actually was functional. And we do it a little bit differently now. I don't know if anybody works with Kelly Piro from Agency Performance Partners, but she's an awesome consultant.
I think we did we had her on. We had her on. Yeah.
Kelly gets around and in a clean way. And, she's an awesome, I mean, I don't know about anything else. I don't know. She spends lots of nights in hotels.
We're going to no comment.
Yeah. On the advice of my attorney, I have no comment. but Kelly helped us kind of retweak the program, last year. And it looks a bit different now, where it's just a single phone call and a single email. But we're finding our agents have anywhere between, I think the average success rate was like 38%. So let's say they're getting a hold of 4 and 10 people, but even just from an E&O perspective, we have bulletproof documentation that you got a phone call and an email every year. We're no longer doing the 3 touch points just because of book size, the volume. We need to hire multiple additional staff just to handle that, and it's just not practical at this point. And a matter of fact, that's one thing that we've got right now. While we're a little bit understaffed, we've got our intern for the summer from Florida State sending out those emails, not necessarily making the phone calls, but the email. That was one thing where my ops manager was like, "Well, maybe we should pause this for a minute," and I was like, "Nope, This is one thing that will not get paused. It is an incredible account round opportunity. Oh, right, and that E&O thing. So these people will be reached out to one way or another.
Man,
Love it.
filled with goodness, and we've gone the distance. Let's wrap it with one final question. If you could give, and I think we could go on for another hour, but if you could give one piece of advice to somebody jumping into this interesting world of insurance, not just the interesting world, but what would that be? And
Run like hell.
Yeah, run like hell. Yeah. Pink Floyd said it.
I think it would be that you've got to stay light on your feet. This is an industry that traditionally is slow to react, slow to adapt to new technology, slow to change. And as an agency owner, you've got to be the exact opposite. We are in uncharted waters. We're in unprecedented times, and I'm not crying in my soup about it. I'm saying, put on your dancing shoes and stay on your toes. If you dig your heels in, don't waste your time. Just be constantly looking to how to triage what comes up in front of you and build a good team. And that is something that is a lot easier to talk about than to do. But team and culture are incredibly important. But just stay nimble and realize that what your values are, they may need to evolve as this world evolves.
Wow.
That doesn't mean stray from them.
Yeah.
But,
and I have to follow it up with one last question. If you were crying in your soup, what kind of soup would that be?
I'm going to say clam chowder.
Love some clam
New
chowder.
England or
Manhattan.
Yeah.
Why do they even call Manhattan chowder? I mean, come on, guys. So I mentioned that
it's tomato soup.
It is. Boston's on my mind right now because we have an auto glass vendor who's a huge Red Sox sponsor, and we ran into. Notice I can't say Boston Red Sox. It's the Red Sox. It's how it spits
Park
out.
the car.
Park the car in the Harvard yard. But my mom's from Boston. My grandmother had a giant Boston accent, so it's all good. And I lived up there. But anyway, we ran into this auto glass vendor, and they brought us up in 2019. We're out of time, but that's a whole nother wild, crazy story that involved, I think, Hurricane Michael. We got there, and we got to sit right behind home plate in the second row, and we were on TV all night. So we run into this rep at FAIA last week, and she's like, hey, you want to go back up there? And so we're going next month for a game against the Blue Jays, and it's the same seats, second row, right behind home plate. So I got some chowder on my mind.
Love it.
I'm starving.
Jason, we're gonna have to have you back on.
Hungry.
Yeah.
Anytime, guys. We didn't even talk about airplanes.
Yeah, exactly. So let's shoot her a message, say we're going to do a round 2. Let's just get it going.
Yeah.
All right.
Y'all are awesome.
Yeah, great to have
Sounds
you on.
good,
Thank you so much. If anybody wants to find your agency, what is the URL on the interwebs?
No. Just send a carrier pigeon.
Send a carrier pigeon. All right. Perfect.
You know what to start off with. Harry, Harry, Levine. So none of this Avril Levine Canadian crap with the A and the G.
Fake.
Levine.com. You can find us on Facebook. I have a young producer who's a Florida State grad who's like screwing around with Instagram or something. I don't know. I just told her to keep it clean. And and LinkedIn. We've got it all, but the best is the website and probably Facebook.
Cool, man. Thank you for going the distance. Love it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
Check us
Jason.
out on HarryLevineInsurance.com, and I will hit Emily up for round 2, and maybe we'll talk about like some crazy flying in the sky stuff.
Yes. Love it. All right. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks so much.
Cool. Take it easy, guys. It was fun.
Bye.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
That was another awesome episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to get a little bit more action and learn how to write 100,000 in premium off of even the worst internet leads, where could they go?
They can go to live.teledudes.com.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Are we going to be there?
Yes, it's a weekly call that we're doing right now it's live, and it will show you the process. The entire process is super awesome.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sign up right now, live.teledudes.com.
Live.teledudes.com. That's live.teledudes.com.
Hey, Craig, there's a new community that we are starting that I cannot wait to tell everybody about. It is our live texting community where you and I are going to answer people's questions and give them free content, right?
Are you kidding me? We get to talk to them?
Yeah, which is awesome, but they have to opt in. They have to text us at 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
Nice.
Craig, are you going to respond to these texts?
I'm going to respond to them for sure. Live.
I'm into it too. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be our new texting community where we're going to get back to everybody that we can and drop some crazy content, free content, and free the calculator that you just came up with. That's right. The calling calculator, sales material. I mean, everything for insurance agents. This is it. It's the best texting community out there for insurance agents.
Well, what the heck is that number again? I can't remember it.
It's 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
I love it. I'm going to text it right now.
520-214-2219.
All right. I'll see you later, Mr. Jason.
Bye, Mr. Craig.
Wait, do they even listen to this on the radio anymore?
I love it. I love it. Nice.
All right.